You know, in the epic story of China's three kingdoms, you've got your clear-cut heroes, you've got your villains, and then you have a guy like Fa Zheng. He just doesn't fit into any neat category. He was this absolute genius at winning battles, but at the same time, a deeply controversial figure. So let's get right into what makes this guy so fascinating.
I mean, look at this. On one side, you have people, even his sworn enemies, calling him a strategic genius, right up there with the best of the best. But then you flip the coin, and the records show a vindictive tyrant, a man who is basically above the law, using his new power to get back at people.
So how can one person be both of these things at the same time? Seriously, how does that happen? That's the real puzzle here. How did a guy who helped build a kingdom from scratch also get to be its dark side? Okay, to really get Fa Zheng, you got to understand his special skill. He was a master of something called gaitse, which basically translates to uncanny or unexpected strategies. This wasn't just about moving troops around. No, his real talent was getting inside the heads of his enemies. He could predict what they were going to do before they even did it.
And believe me, a talent like that doesn't stay on the sidelines for long. He immediately put it to work, and his first big project? Oh, just creating an entire kingdom for his new boss, Liu Bei.
So here's the backstory. Fa Zheng wasn't always with Liu Bei. He started out working for another guy, Liu Zheng, who he thought was, well, kind of useless, weak, couldn't make a decision to save his life. And Fa Zheng, knowing how brilliant he was, felt totally wasted. So what does he do? He decides to pull off something absolutely insane. He's going to just give the whole province to someone else.
And he does it like something out of a spy movie. He gets sent out as an envoy, a messenger, and uses it as a cover to secretly meet with Liu Bei. He hands him a playbook for the entire invasion. He's the ultimate insider, right? He's guiding the enemy army through his own territory and, most importantly, he knew exactly how to shut down the one strategy that could have ruined everything.
And this is where you see his true genius wasn't just about battles, it was about psychology. So someone on the other side suggests a scorched earth policy, burn everything so Liu Bei's invading army starves. Liu Bei starts to panic, thinking the plan is over. But Fa Zheng is cool as a cucumber. He basically says, don't worry, I know my old boss. He's too weak, too soft, he would never ever agree to a plan that hurts his own people. And you know what? He was 100% right. That prediction saved the entire invasion.
Okay, that was impressive, for sure. But his real masterpiece, his Mona Lisa of military strategy, that came a few years later during the Han campaign. This wasn't just another battle. This was the fight that would secure the kingdom's borders and turn Fa Zheng into a legend.
So, check this out. At Mount Dingjin, Fa Zheng sets this beautiful trap. Step 1. He launches a big, noisy attack on a secondary enemy camp. It's a feint. Step 2. He knows the enemy commander, a guy named Xiao Yuan, is rash and hot-headed. He's betting Xiao Yuan will personally lead reinforcements, leaving his main command post vulnerable. And of course he does. Step 3. The second Xiao Yuan is out in the open, Fa Zheng gives the signal. His general, who's been waiting on a hill this whole time, leads a thunderous charge straight down onto the exposed commander. It's just perfect.
The result was devastating. Xiao Yuan, one of Cao Cao's best generals, is killed on the spot. It's a huge win. But here's the best part. When the news gets back to the enemy leader, the legendary Cao Cao, he hears the details of the trap and he says, and this is a direct quote, "I knew Liu Bei was not capable of this. He must have been advised by Fa Zheng." Think about that. Your archenemy knows your signature moves. That is the highest form of respect you can get.
So, at this point, you're thinking, wow, what a hero, a certified military genius. And you'd be right. But this is where the story gets really, really dark.
Because with all these victories came a ton of power. Liu Bei rewards him, makes him a top official. And what does Fa Zheng do with this newfound influence? He doesn't use it to build the kingdom, oh no, he uses it to settle scores.
He goes on this personal revenge tour. He literally hunts down anyone who ever wronged him in the past, no matter how tiny the insult. We are talking about grudges over someone not giving him a meal years ago, or maybe someone who just gave him a dirty look. And what does he do? He has them killed. Just executed, completely without any legal process.
Which you have to ask, right? How in the world does he get away with this? This is a brand new kingdom trying to look legitimate, and one of its top guys is running around murdering people over petty grudges. Why did nobody stop him?
Well, the answer we get
is pretty incredible, and it comes from the famous Prime Minister Zhuge Liang. People went to him. They complained, "You got to do something about this guy." And Zhuge Liang's response was basically, "Look, I can't." He explained that back when their lord Liu Bei had nothing, when he was desperate, Fa Zheng was his wings. He's the reason they were able to fly out of that mess. So how could they possibly punish him now? The guy was untouchable.
And this really gets to the core of it. You have to think of the kingdom as being built on two very different pillars. You had Zhuge Liang, the ultimate statesman, the guy who wrote the laws and ran the day-to-day government. And then you had Fa Zheng, the wild card, the schemer, the guy who won the impossible battles. One was the administrator, the other was the strategist. They were complete opposites, but Liu Bei needed both of them to survive.
And beyond just being useful, there was a really deep personal connection between Fa Zheng and Liu Bei. I mean, at one point in a battle, Liu Bei refused to retreat, so Fa Zheng just ran and stood in front of him to block the arrows, basically shaming his lord into getting to safety. When Fa Zheng died a few years later, they say Liu Bei wept for days, something he almost never did. He even gave him the posthumous title Marquis Yi, the Wing Marquis. That says it all, doesn't it?
But if you need one final, absolute piece of proof of just how crucial this flawed man was, well, you get it in the most tragic way possible, right after he died.
Okay, look at this timeline. In 220 AD, Fa Zheng dies. The very next year, Liu Bei is consumed by grief over another death and decides to launch this massive, ill-advised invasion. Everyone tells him it's a bad idea, but he doesn't listen. And in 222 AD, his army gets completely wiped out at the Battle of Yiling. This wasn't just a loss, it was a disaster that the kingdom never, ever recovered from.
And in the smoking ruins of that defeat, everybody knew there was only one man, just one, who could have stopped it from happening. And that final word comes again from Zhuge Liang. He famously said, "If Fa Zheng were still alive, he could have stopped our lord. Or, if he had gone, he would not have allowed this disaster." Just think about that. He's saying Fa Zheng was the only person who could either talk Liu Bei down or, failing that, was brilliant enough to prevent the catastrophe. It's one of the biggest what-ifs in history, and it's the ultimate testament to the fact that this cruel, vengeful, deeply flawed man was also, without a doubt, irreplaceable.